everyone, it's Rita with Everything Homemade, and in this episode we are going to transplant those pepper plants that we have started into separate pots. So if you can see here, they have their first set of leaves coming right here, and this is the stage that I like to transplant my pepper plants to their final destination because they don't suffer as much transplant shock. I find they transplant very easy at this stage, and you can separate their roots very quickly and efficiently. So let's do that today. First of all, I would just like to say thank you to Bloom Plus for sponsoring this channel. They have this amazing grow light that I'm using. It is the BP 1500. It is a full spectrum grow light, and I'm using this grow light over all my pepper plants and soon to be many more plants that I will be starting or growing inside the house. But what's unique is it is sleek design, it's lightweight, sturdy, does not heat up, and it provides your plants with all the spectrum of light they need, so it mimics the sunlight exceptionally well. If you take a look at my pepper plants and you look right in the middle, they're actually going to start blooming here right away, and this is just because of that grow light. I have never seen results like this, and let me tell you, I've used grow lights in the past, and I can say honestly that Bloom Plus did a very good job at their grow lights, and my plants say it all. Right now, the BP 1500 is 20% off. If you're interested, check out the links in the description box below. If you have any questions or would like to make a comment, you can definitely do that in the comment section. So let's start transplanting our pepper plants. So what you need to transplant your pepper plants is obviously the container first. Now I am just reusing large yogurt containers. These yogurt containers are 1.75 kilogram. They measure out to be 6 inches squared and 5 inches tall. So something like that. I mean, even if you're 6 inches in height and let's say 4 inches square, or maybe your circle, something like that, you got to remember that pepper plants don't need an overly large container. You definitely don't want to keep them in a small 500 gram yogurt container. That is too small. You also don't want to, let's say, step it up to, let's say, a 750 gram yogurt container. This is also too small. It's too narrow. So you really are looking for something that is around that 4 inch to 6 inch across, at least 5 inches high. You can definitely go larger than that, but you don't want to go, you know, to a 5-gallon pail. Even a gallon pail would work well. Once you've picked your container, then you want to fill it up with a general potting mix soil. So I just have a Sunshine number 4. I also like Pro Mix. Really go to your store and just get a general potting mix that you would use for any kind of houseplants would be great. So what you want to do is fill it up. And what I like to do is leave about a centimeter to an inch. So if I press this down a little bit harder, you'll notice that I could probably be an inch clearance. And I like to do that. And the reason why I like to do that, if you see the base there, what I like to do after a while, I like to lift up the dirt a little bit higher, so that way it sturdies up the plants, and pepper plants like to root out once more. So it's kind of like anchoring roots. You notice that all my plants, all my pots here have clearance where I can add in that dirt. So it won't be long before I will add in an inch of dirt all the way around my pepper plants. So what I am doing here is preparing for that. So I am leaving it. You don't want to fill it right up to the top. The other thing is you don't want to fill ever your soil so close to the rim that when you water it, the water just flows over. Then you just got a mess. So after you put in your potting soil, you want it moist. So you want it where you touch your fingers and it just sticks to your fingers. Okay, you notice that they aren't soaking wet, like my fingers aren't dripping. When I grab my soil, you notice if I squeeze it, it's not dripping wet. So that's really important because a lot of times we over water and you actually create yellowish plants. So it's better actually to underwater a bit than it is to overwater your plants. But we're transplanting here, so they got to be moist but not dripping wet. So if this is dripping wet and you messed up, what you want to do is get a big bowl, dump this potting soil in, and add more potting soil until it evens out, and then put in more potting soil and continue on. Now that you got your container plant filled, you need to separate these plants. And what I like to do is just keep everything really simple. I don't like things complex. What I like to do is just transplant over my very first container. So any dirt that falls out of this container just goes right into the container that I'm going to plant. And that way there's just less mess to clean up. So what I like to do, because these roots are not that big, is I just go upstairs and grab a teaspoon or a tablespoon, whatever you have. And first of all, I'm just going to loosen the dirt a bit around him. Okay, just like that. And then I'm just going to scoop them out. Now you notice here that the dirt is not sopping wet. You definitely don't want to just water your pepper plants just before you do this, because the weight of the soil could actually break the roots. There's a lot of weight there in water, and so whenever you want to transplant, you actually want to water the day before and not right before you want to transplant. You want to save the watering for the main container. So I'm just going to take my 2 fingers here. I'm going to make a little hole right into the center. So something like that. I know it's a little hard to see because it's the same color. It's a dark hole, but basically I'm about to my first knuckle in depth. So just make a little hole there. And the tricky part here is where a lot of people get scared of, is separating your plants. So just delicately, I am just going to loosen my plants up and try not to break any roots. And I'm just going to take this plant and put it into another container, because I have 3 plants, so I have 3 containers. So I have separated this one here, and I'm just going to gently hold it by the stem. And you can see here, there's a root right here, there's a dangling root down here, and there's a root off to the other side. So of course some of the dirt has filled in my hole, and that's just fine. And now what I want to do, I'm going to place it here so you can see it. I want to bury it up to this false leaves. And what's important here to note is that pepper plants will root out anywhere on that stem. So unlike a tree, you only want to go to the crown. With pepper plants, you can bury it up to the false leaves. So that's really good to know. I'm going to delicately just pinch it with my thumb and index finger. And then I am just going to actually hold it a bit by its false leaf right there, giving it a little support. And then I am just going to put the dirt around and press it in. And there is my very first pepper plant out of those 3 transplant. Now the key thing here is to pack in that dirt around your plant, because the roots have now been disturbed, and you want the roots to be firm. You want the soil to be firm around your roots, and that is key to a really good transplant, if you just drop the plant in and don't press the dirt around it, it will be all loose. Then when you water it, the plant kind of just goes ugh, and falls over to one side. But if you press it down, the roots make contact with that new soil, and you will have way less transplant shock, and the plant will be much happier with you. So I have a couple more plants here. I can feel the give here. If you see that there's a root here, so I don't want to break that, but I do want to figure out whose root that is, and it just broke apart simply like that. I'm going to just put this plant into the third container right here, and I am going to now do the exact same thing. I'm going to make a hole here right in the middle, and then I'm going to just drop this dude in. This dude is standing up a little bit better than the other one did. And then I'm just going to put the dirt around it. Pressing it down, moving that dirt around it to secure my little plant in. Done. Just like that. Okay, let's do the third one. This one here's got a really good root base. Now with this one here, you can see that there's this big glob of dirt hanging off the roots. If I would grab it by the stem here, I have a chance of actually breaking that root. So what I'm actually going to do is just put my spoon underneath it to give it a little bit more support. And what I'm going to do with that is actually just drop it down like that. And then I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to press down, make it a little deeper so that falls down, and then I'm going to put my plant in and press it the rest of the way. Therefore, I'm not breaking the roots or shocking it in any way, and I have a very fast transplant and efficient, and my plant is happy with me and all done. So I have my watering can now. When you do water, please don't water over your plant. They're really fragile. So what I do is just give them a little water around. Remember, your soil is moist. I'm just giving a little bit of water because I know how moist my soil is. So just enough to give them like a little added boost. And you shouldn't have to water these again for at least 4 or 5 days. So now that I have my pepper plants transplanted, all I need to do is keep them watered, have them underneath the grow light. If you're using any of Bloom Plus's grow light, you'll know that your grow light should be about 24 inches above your plants. If you're using fluorescents, they should be within a few inches. So once again, if you're interested in the BP 1500, check out the links below, ask me any questions, continue to watch your pepper plants grow, and I will see you on the next episode.